The night over the Tyrrhenian Sea was heavy and moonless, a vast black sheet broken only by the dim outlines of ships creeping toward the Italian coast. Engines hummed steadily, low and tense, like thousands of hearts beating in unison. The dark silhouettes, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, troop transports, rolled gently on the swells, forming the largest invasion fleet yet assembled in the Mediterranean. Every man on board knew they were approaching a shore held by a determined enemy, even if Italy had just surrendered days before. No one believed the Germans would simply let them land. Captain Jonathan Hale, commander of Company G, leaned on the railing of his LCI as the humid night breeze brushed his face. Sweat clung to his brow despite the cool air. Sailors whispered orders, Marines checked their rifles again and again, the metallic clicks echoing through the dark. Salerno, Hale muttered. Doesn't even sound dangerous. A voice behind him answered quietly, dripping with anxiety, Sir, if a place doesn't sound dangerous, that's usually when we get shot at first. It was Private Mason, the youngest in the company, gripping his M1 like it was the only thing keeping him alive. Hale almost smiled, stick close to your squad. And don't invent bad omens before we're even on the beach. From the LCI bridge, the boat's skipper called out, landfall in 40 minutes. All personnel prepare for debarkation. The men exchanged glances. The moment sharpened. Silence settled like a weight. Far ahead, across the black water, the faintest glimmer of coastline appeared. No lights. No fires. No movement. As if Italy was sleeping, unaware of the storm about to crash into it, but Hale knew the truth. The Germans were awake. And waiting. The German side, 16th Panzer Division on the slopes overlooking Salerno, Hauptmann Erich Brandt studied the night through his binoculars. The shoreline lay still under the faint stars, but far out he saw the shadows, big ones. Mehr Schiff, reported his radio operator. More ships keep appearing every hour. Of course, Brandt said softly. The Allies love theatrics. They will hit us here at dawn. He lowered the binoculars. And we will greet them properly. Around him, German units prepared in disciplined quiet, artillery crews adjusted their guns, MG teams dug in deeper, tank engines sat warm and idling under camouflage nets. The Luftwaffe was thin in the area, stretched across too many fronts, but the Wehrmacht still had enough force at Salerno to fight like a cornered wolf. Brandt exhaled through his teeth. They think Italy's surrender means an easy landing. He shook his head. They are mistaken. Back on the sea the fleet grew nearer to the BAY.AT-0430 hours, the first warship opened fire. A thunderous flash erupted from the deck of USS Philadelphia, followed a heartbeat later by a concussion that rippled across the sea. The shell rockets into the hills near Maiori, then another. And another. Within seconds, the entire fleet joined in, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, turning the dark coast into a flickering inferno. The horizon strobed with orange light as dozens of naval guns fired in rolling waves. The sound was deafening. Hale felt the blast vibrations through the metal deck of the LCI, each shockwave thudding in his chest. Mason covered his ears, shouting, Is this supposed to make me feel safer? Consider it a welcome gift. Sergeant Blake barked. Bright streaks of naval shells arced overhead and crashed inland, kicking up fountains of flame, dirt, and smoke. The coastline lit up like a furnace, but still no return fire. That quiet unnerved Hale more than the bombardment. The approach at 0600, the LCIs and LCAs began their final run toward the beaches. The naval bombardment shifted deeper inland. The sea churned with wakes as dozens of landing craft sliced toward the shore. 30 seconds, came the shout. The men knelt, gripping their rifles, trembling but ready. Hale scanned the beach, flat sand, gentle surf, a strip of dunes, olive groves behind them. Too peaceful. Too empty. Where the hell are they? He whispered. The ramp hit the water. Move. Move. The men charged into the surf, splashing forward, boots sinking in the sand, weapons raised. Still silence. They advanced 10 yards up the beach. 15.20. Then the world exploded. The German ambush machine guns opened like tearing sheets of metal. MG-42s scythed across the sand with blazing speed, one of the fastest instruments of death in the war. Mortars fell among the waves, sending plumes of water and bodies skyward. The hidden German positions came alive all at once. Down. Get down. Hale roared, diving behind a shallow dune. Where the hell are they firing from? Mason shouted over the chaos everywhere. Sergeant Blake snapped, returning fire blindly toward the olive grove. LCIs were being shredded as they tried to drop more troops. One boat burst into flames, another twisted sideways, its ramp jammed, men trapped under relentless fire. The Germans had been waiting. Quiet. Patient. Deadly. Hale peered through the smoke and saw muzzle flashes peppering the hillsides. He grabbed his radio operator. Get naval fire on grid. A mortar blast knocked them both flat. Sand rained down. Someone screamed for a medic. Another explosion. Another. The beach became a hellscape of fire, metal, and broken bodies. German perspective Hauptmann Brandt watched through binoculars, expression stone cold. They're pinned. Good. He handed the binoculars back. Signal the Panthers. Time to push them into the sea. His men obeyed instantly. Below, engines roared to life. Back on the beach, Hale saw the dust rising inland. Not from explosions, from tanks. Blake. Tell the anti-tank boys to get those bazookas ready. Before Blake could answer, the first German Panther emerged between the trees, its long gun sweeping the beach like a giant, choosing where to strike first. More tanks followed. Mason whispered, voice breaking, "Sir, we're gonna die here." Hale put a firm hand on his shoulder. Not today, Private. Not today. He rose, firing his M1 toward the advancing armor even though he knew the bullets would do nothing. Around him, the battlefield stretched into an epic struggle of survival, naval guns firing inland, landing craft exploding, German tanks rolling closer, men shouting, falling, charging, bleeding. Operation Avalanche had begun, and Salerno was already earning its name, the Bay of Fire. The sun had barely pushed above the distant Apennines when the battle for Salerno turned from chaos into something far worse, something that felt like the world itself had cracked open. The golden morning light was beautiful for only a second, glinting across the gentle curve of the bay, before smoke swallowed it again. The beach was no longer sand but a living, heaving mass of fire, metal, shouting, pain, and raw survival. The invasion force had come ashore, but holding the ground was proving to be a different kind of war entirely. Captain Jonathan Hale stumbled forward through a haze of smoke, half running, half crawling across the churned sand. His ears still rang from the last barrage, and for a moment every explosion seemed to come from far away. The air smelled of burning oil, cordite, and blood. His hands were coated with sweat and grainy sand that stuck to his palms like dried glue. More landing craft were trying, desperately, to bring in reinforcements, but German artillery had finally zeroed in on the shoreline. A transport craft exploded in a towering column of orange flame, its metal ribs scattering across the surf like broken toys. Medic, someone screamed. For God's sake, get a medic here. Captain Hale. Sergeant Blake sprinted up the dune, sliding beside him. Panthers coming in from the tree-line. 5 of them. Maybe more. Hale forced himself to focus. Where's the anti-tank team? Still behind the ridge. They lost 2 men trying to move up. They're shaken. Tell them to shake on the move. We need those bazookas now. Blake nodded and ran back down, hunched low under the whistling mortar rounds. A shrill mechanical sound rose from inland, the harsh grind of metal on metal, the unmistakable rumble of tank treads. It grew louder by the second. Private Mason crawled up next to Hale, his helmet lopsided, face streaked with soot. "Sir," he said, voice trembling, "those can't be ours, right?" Hale shook his head. "Not unless they started painting white crosses on ours." Moments later, the first Panther burst through the olive grove, its dark hull gliding across the morning light like a beast emerging from the underworld. Its turret swiveled with terrifying calm, scanning for targets. More Panthers followed, flanked by infantry in gray-green uniforms advancing in tight, disciplined groups. Machine guns opened from the grove, their bullets slicing across the beach. The American line began to buckle. Hale grabbed his radio operator, Corporal Thompson. "Get me naval support. Now." "I'm trying, sir." Signal interference. Thompson held the handset to his ear. Philadelphia, Philadelphia, This is G Company on Red Beach 2, requesting immediate fire mission. Static, then a voice crackled through. Copy, coordinates, hurry. Hale snatched the receiver. This is Captain Hale, Germans advancing on the beach with armor. I need fire on grid. A shell burst just meters behind him, the concussion knocking him forward. The radio fell from his hands. Thompson lunged and caught it, rolling over and clutching the handset like a lifeline. The Panthers fired. A deafening crack slashed across the beach as the lead Panther's gun spat flame. An American half-track disintegrated in a shower of steel and smoke. Men dove for what little cover existed: shallow dunes, debris from shattered landing craft, the bodies of the fallen. Blake. Hale shouted. Where are those bazookas? Right here. Blake slid into position with the anti-tank team. But they'll kill us before we can get close enough. Hale looked at the approaching Panthers, sleek, powerful, almost graceful. They were advancing with confidence, rolling forward as if nothing could stop them. He realized with a sinking dread that the invasion could fail right here. Then we get close anyway, Hale said. Spread out. Use the dunes. Hit the flanks or don't bother. Mason swallowed hard. Sir. I didn't sign up to fight tanks. None of us did. Do it anyway. German across the field. Hauptmann Eric Brandt walked calmly behind his advancing line of infantry, the Panthers moving in perfect formation ahead of him. The rising sun glinted off their angled armor, turning the tanks into living shards of steel. His radio operator jogged beside him. Herr Hauptmann, reports say more Allied units are landing to the south. Brandt nodded. Let them. The beach cannot hold them much longer. He lifted his binoculars and surveyed the chaos. Smoke drifted between the dunes, men scrambled helplessly under machine gun fire, landing craft burned like candles left in the sun. His men were performing well, disciplined, precise, deadly. This is where German doctrine shined: mobile counterattacks, armored thrusts, seizing initiative. Italy's surrender meant nothing yet. The Wehrmacht still held the ground. Brandt spoke to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Weber. We need to reach the waterline. If we push them into the surf, the entire landing collapses. Weber nodded. The men are ready. Brandt's expression hardened. They have to be. The Führer demands results. He didn't say the rest aloud, and the penalty for failure is becoming a hero posthumously. He moved closer to the front, his voice low but firm. Panthers, wider forwards. Keep the pressure. The tanks surged forward. United States beach under fire. The Panthers grew closer, 200 meters, then 150. Machine gun nests around the dunes opened up, sending tracer rounds cutting through the haze. One German infantry squad dropped, caught in a crossfire. But another immediately stepped over their bodies, firing as they advanced. Hale felt something inside him snap, not fear, but a cold, sharp resolve. Blake, take your team left. Mason, you're with me. Thompson, keep working that radio. Already trying, sir. Another explosion. Sand rained down again. Hale and Mason crawled along a dune ridge, keeping low as Panther shells exploded nearby. The tank guns were terrifying, each shot a hammer blow that shook the earth. Mason whispered, Sir, we're gonna die if we go any closer. Hale set his jaw. Then don't get hit. He peeked over the dune. A Panther had taken point just ahead, its turret turning toward a cluster of pinned Americans. Now, Hale muttered, before it fires again. He signaled Mason with a hand gesture. They rose, ran. Machine gun fire tore past them, snapping through the air like angry insects. Hale slid behind a wrecked landing craft, heart pounding. Get that bazooka ready, he shouted. Mason shakily loaded the shell. I can't get a clean shot. You don't need clean. Hale yelled. Just get it in the general direction. Mason braced himself, aimed at the Panther's side, and fired. The rocket streaked forward, trailing smoke. It hit. A burst of sparks flashed across the Panther's armor, but the rocket didn't penetrate. Sir, oh God, sir, it's fine, Hale said, though he knew it wasn't. Hit it again. Before they could reload, The Panther's turret rotated toward them. Hail Dove, the shell blasted the sand behind them, sending both men tumbling forward like rag dolls. Hale's ears rang, his vision blurred, but somehow, he was still alive. German. The push toward the sea. Brandt watched the explosion from afar. Good. Keep pushing them. They're breaking. Weber pointed toward the beach. Herr Hauptmann, more Allied reinforcements are arriving, North Sector. Brandt frowned. How many? 2 battalions at least. Brandt cursed under his breath. We don't have the men to fight a continuous front. He tapped his radio operator. Call HQ, tell them we need artillery, immediately. Static, the operator tried again, still nothing. Their naval bombardment is interfering, the operator said. Brandt clenched his jaw. Of course it was. Very well, he said. We proceed anyway. United States Naval Thunder. Thompson screamed across the beach toward Hale. Sir. I got them. The Navy is on the line. Hale grabbed the receiver. Philadelphia, fire mission on the Grove. Tanks advancing to the beach. Coordinates, copy, range locked, firing. A hum rolled across the water, then the sky cracked open. A battleship shell hulled overhead. A burning comet of steel. It slammed into the olive grove in a blinding eruption. The ground shook. Flames tore through trees. German infantry scattered. Another shell landed. Then another. Even Brandt paused as the bombardment rolled over the ridge, flattening defensive structures and igniting ammunition caches. Skies, Weber muttered. That's a battleship. Brandt exhaled slowly. Yes. That complicates things. A Panther took a direct hit. The entire tank lifted off the ground before crashing down in pieces. Still, the others pushed on. United States. The turning point. Hale and Mason huddled behind a dune as the naval shells roared overhead. Now's our chance. Hale yelled. The tanks are distracted. Reload. Mason rammed another rocket into the bazooka. This time, his hands were steadier. They crawled forward, closer. The nearest Panther was turning away from them, trying to reposition after the shelling. Hale whispered, "Do it now." Mason rose to one knee, aimed carefully at the thinner rear armor, fired. The rocket hit the engine compartment. A burst of flame erupted from the Panther's back. Smoke billowed. The tank lurched forward, then halted, its crew scrambling to escape from the hatch before another internal explosion swallowed the turret. Mason gasped. I got it. I actually got it. Hale slapped his shoulder. Good. Now let's not die celebrating. German withdrawal. Temporary. Brandt watched the burning Panther with visible frustration. Pull the remaining tanks back behind the grove, he ordered. We regroup. This naval fire is too heavy. No armor can survive in the open. Weber nodded. Infantry. They hold the ridgeline for now. We counterattack again after regrouping. Brandt knew the truth. The Americans had survived the worst of the ambush. Reinforcements were pouring in every minute. And the Navy was leveling the countryside, but he wasn't done yet. He would break them before nightfall. He had to. United States consolidating the foothold as the German tanks withdrew under naval bombardment. American troops surged forward to secure the dunes. Sergeant Blake rejoined Hale. Sir. Command says reinforcements from the 36th Division are on the way. Artillery is being brought ashore too. Hale nodded, exhausted. Good. We'll need every piece. Mason fell onto the sand, breathing heavily. Are we winning? Hale looked across the beach. Burned out landing craft. Dozens of bodies. Smoke everywhere. Naval guns still firing inland. Men digging frantic foxholes. He swallowed. We're not losing, he said. That's what counts. Blake pointed inland. Sir. Movement. Looks like German infantry regrouping. Hale stood. They'll be back. And when they come, he chambered a round in his rifle. We'll be waiting. German. Brandt prepares again on the ridge. Brandt studied map spread across the hood of a Kübelwagen. We hit their right flank at dusk, he said. Panzer Grenadiers here. Mortars along this ridge. Panthers will circle through the orchard. Weber raised an eyebrow. A night assault. Brent nodded. Yes. The Americans won't expect it. He looked toward the burning coastline. They think they've won the beach, he muttered. But I will rip it out from under them. He stepped away from the map and gazed at the sea, where Allied ships still glowed faintly in the morning light. Tonight, he whispered, we throw them back into the water. He clenched his fist, and if we fail, Germany's southern front collapses. United States awaiting the counterattack. Hale's men dug in across the dunes, creating firing positions and assembling machine guns. Engineers worked like demons, laying wire and marking sectors of fire overhead. American fighter bombers roared in, strafing the ridge. Sir, Blake said, any idea when they hit us again? Hale shook his head. But they will. And once they do, this beach will turn into hell again. Mason looked up. How long do we have? Hale glanced at the sun. Not long. The battle for Salerno wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Operation Avalanche, Part 412-13 September 1943. Salerno, Italy. The night had been merciless, stretching hours into eternity. American, British, and Italian forces clung to every inch of the beachhead as the moon hung low over Salerno, casting a cold, silver light across a battlefield scarred by fire and blood. Smoke swirled into the dark sky, mixing with the stench of cordite, diesel, and the metallic tang of blood. Captain Thomas Harding crouched behind the remains of a half-track, his rifle pressed against the sandbags. Beside him, Private James Murphy shivered, not from the chill, but from exhaustion and fear. Sir, are they coming back? Murphy whispered, voice barely audible. They will, Harding replied, scanning the dark horizon. They always do. Even in the night, the subtle rumble of tank engines could be felt before it was seen. The German 16th Panzergrenadier Division was regrouping for a massive counterattack, aiming to roll up the beachhead before Allied reinforcements could consolidate. Point 1. The night counterattack begins at 3 o'clock hours. The first shadows moved. German tanks crept from the tree line, headlights off, silent except for the grinding of their treads over the churned earth. Infantry followed in disciplined waves, the dim outline of MG-42s slicing the darkness with precision. Hauptmann Erich Brandt surveyed the scene from a ridge, night vision binoculars in hand. His men moved like ghosts, unseen and disciplined. Keep formation, he ordered. This is the moment. Hit them before dawn. No hesitation. Back on the beach, Harding felt the subtle tremor of approaching steel. His men fumbled with the few bazookas left, trying to position them behind the dunes. Every second stretched longer than the last. A whisper of movement, then a sudden flash. A Panther's gun ignited the sand, sending a column of smoke skyward. Shouts, screams, and gunfire erupted. Return fire. Everyone. Hold the line. Harding yelled, voice hoarse. Point 2. The hill battles. While the Americans fought to hold the beaches, British forces under Major Richard Evans stormed Montecarvino. German defensive positions were strong, dug deep into the rocky terrain with interlocking machine gun nests and anti-tank obstacles. Evans crouched behind a wall, giving hand signals to his men. Move in pairs. Suppress that nest, then advance. Shells rained around them. Each step forward cost blood. A young private fell beside Evans, crying out as shrapnel tore through his leg. Evans dragged him into cover, grimacing at the smell of burning flesh. Despite heavy losses, the British pushed upward. By 5 o'clock hours, the first wave reached the summit, planting makeshift flags to signal success. But victory came at a price. Half the squad was either dead or wounded. Point 3. Italian allies make their mark. Meanwhile, Italian defectors under Lieutenant Marco Bianchi moved swiftly along narrow paths, bypassing German positions and reaching key observation points. Using field telephones and signal mirrors, they directed naval gunfire onto German tanks and infantry clusters. Left flank, now. Bianchi shouted into the phone. A salvo from the USS Philadelphia slammed into a concentration of German troops, sending tanks and soldiers into chaos. For Harding and his exhausted men, these strikes were life-saving. Every barrage allowed another inch of sand to be held, another family of survivors to cling to Hope Point 4. Desperate close combat by dawn, the battlefield was a nightmarish tapestry of smoke, flame, and bodies. German infantry had penetrated some American lines, forcing brutal hand-to-hand combat. Bayonets clashed, rifles were swung like clubs, and men fought tooth and nail for each dune, each trench. Murphy found himself face to face with a German soldier. He fired his pistol, then lunged, knocking the men into the sand. The fight was over in seconds, leaving both men panting and shaking. Around him, similar scenes played out endlessly. Captain Harding shouted over the din, "Hold your ground. Do not give them an inch." 5. Turning the tide. By mid-morning, the tide began to turn. Allied artillery and naval support, now coordinated with the Italian guides and British flanking attacks, had slowed the German advance. Tanks were destroyed, infantry scattered, and key positions reclaimed. Hauptmann Brandt realized the counterattack had stalled. From his vantage point, he watched Panthers burning on the dunes and gunners struggling to regroup. "Pull back to secondary positions," he ordered. Regroup for nightfall. The temporary withdrawal was a silent acknowledgement. The beachhead would not be crushed today. Point 6. Consolidation and aftermath. Exhausted, battered, and bloodied, American and British troops dug in along the dunes and ridges. They fortified positions, treated the wounded, and prepared for what they knew would be another German attempt. Under cover of darkness, Captain Harding surveyed the beach, now littered with the remnants of landing craft, wrecked vehicles, and bodies. Beside him, Murphy collapsed, covered in sweat and sand. "Did we hold it?" he whispered. "We held it," Harding replied. "For now. That's all we can do." From the ridge, the remaining German forces observed silently. Brandt knew the Allies were entrenched, supported by ships and reinforcements. He would strike again, but the element of surprise was gone. The first phase of Operation Avalanche had survived its crucible. The beachhead at Salerno, against impossible odds, remained in Allied hands. It was a fragile victory, but a crucial foothold for the liberation of Italy. As the sun rose fully over the bay, the aftermath was clear. The sands of Salerno were soaked in blood, yet they had become the foundation for the next steps of the Italian campaign. And the soldiers, American, British, Italian, looked toward the horizon, knowing the fight was far from over.